workout program, or you will be. And I wanted to put this video clip together to give you an idea on proper form and technique that we need to be using as we're lifting throughout the summer, making sure that we're focusing on the proper lifting form and technique and to make sure that we prevent injuries, build strength properly, and don't do anything that's going to set us back in this strength and conditioning program. So I'm going to start over here with one of my athletes, Jake Paul. He's going to demonstrate a back squat for us. This is just start with our Monday workout program, and we'll go on from there. There'll be different clips that will show you the different lifts and form and technique that you need to see for the workout program. Your back and making sure that the grooves are evenly spaced out on your shoulders. When you get ready to go down, make sure you hit a 90-degree angle. You want to make sure your hips are projected backwards, so it allows you to get underneath the bar and then come back up once you get that 90-degree angle. You don't necessarily have to pause at the bottom, but we do want to make sure that you're hitting 90 degrees, which is from the hip to the knee. Go ahead, Ryan. Your front squat's not going to be, you're not going to be able to lift the same amount with the front squat as you would a regular back squat, because different muscles have to support that. So I'm going to have Jake just go ahead and move a little bit of weight here. And I prefer your front squat grip be a front grip with your wrist rotated backwards. That allows you to help improve your flexibility and strength in your wrists and the ligaments that support a power clean, which is something we'll get into later. So doing your front squats with palms forward grip as opposed to a cross-arm grip is going to help you later on in the workout program to help develop the flexibility needed for your clean. Back, step away from the bar, and same deal here. You're going to go down to a 90-degree angle, come back up. Now, good. You want to make sure that you're exhaling on your positive set, inhaling on your negative set. That way your muscles are getting the oxygen that they need at appropriate times. So as I go down, that's my negative set. As I come up, that's my positive set. I want to exhale on a positive set so that my blood pressure doesn't spike and I'm able to continue a constant breathing pattern. Okay, so an overhead squat is the next lift that we're going to do here. That you're going to need to reduce the weight again for your overhead squat, making sure that you're able to handle the weight. There's a lot of muscle imbalances that most people have and tendencies that they have, and overhead squat helps identify and correct those muscle imbalances. So you want to make sure that your arms are locked out directly above your head. You're rotating your hips back. You're going to notice some discomfort between your shoulder blades and your lower back in some of those areas where your muscles are not quite developed the way that they need to be. So this will help you improve those muscle imbalances and strengthen the supporting muscles used for squats and deadlifts and cleans and other areas that we lift. So Jake is going to go ahead and demonstrate overhead squat for us. You want to make sure that your hands are about level above your shoulders. Bring your arms in just a little bit here. You don't want your shoulders to rotate back. Some people have a tendency as they go down, the shoulders to rotate behind their ears. You want to make sure that everything stays above your head in a straight line. As you come down, once again trying to hit that 90-degree angle, go back up. Notice that Jake is struggling a little bit and the weight is shifting forward. You want to do your best to correct those muscle imbalances and natural tendencies as much as you can. Go ahead and do that again. Down to 90 degrees, back up, 1 3. Now we're going to get into a deep squat, which is making sure a lot of people have a tendency not to get down to a 90-degree angle when they're doing their squats. And some of that has to do with their lack of flexibility or strength in certain areas. So we're going to do deep squats, lowering the weight, making sure you're emphasizing getting down below that 90-degree angle to make sure that your body is comfortable and able to do the squats the proper way and build from there. Again, make sure that you're focused on your breathing pattern. Exhale on the way back up. Just one more, Jake. Perfect. Notice it's getting below that 90-degree angle. Okay, so now we're going to go over lunges. Keep in mind that all of these lifts are done off of a percentage of your 1 rep max. You're using your back squat max to judge your lunges. These are back lunges with the barbell, and you want to make sure that you don't have to do this in a cage, but the safety of the cage sometimes is comforting. Making sure that we're stepping forward and backwards with the same leg. That way, we're not allowing momentum to carry us in one direction. We're stopping that momentum bringing ourselves back into position. So Jake's gonna go ahead and demonstrate our barbell lunges here. And you can either do one leg at a time for 10 repetitions, or you can alternate. The choice is yours. You don't need to touch your knee to the ground. A lot of times that can cause contusions and bruises. So get down to within a couple of inches from the ground with your knee, making sure that you got an invisible line there that kind of makes you honest and get into that 90-degree angle that we're looking for. That 90-degree angle should be this bend again between my hip and my joint. Then I'm coming back up. Notice that the knee on my opposite leg did not need to touch the ground. Things that we want to point out when we're doing squats, some of the areas that people tend to have problems is leaning forward a little bit too much, which creates too much pressure in the lower back and having to carry the weight in that weaker area of your body. We want to keep the shoulders over top of the hips. We want to make sure that your knees stay behind your toes, so that when you're bending forward, the knee is not shifting out before your toe. That's a bad thing to happen. You've got to make sure that your hips rotate back, allowing you to stay in alignment. So shoulders over the knees over the toes. Back up in that same position, once again hitting that 90-degree angle. So just a real brief overview on what we're looking for in bodyweight squats. A lot of that strength comes from your core, your abdominal lower back, your transverse abdominal muscle, which makes a natural belt line around that waistline. So if you just contract, make an internal contraction of your waistline, then that will help keep everything tight and in the right position, rotating your hips behind you. All right, so we're gonna go to a deadlift now. And a couple of things, your starting position is going to be really important in making sure that you're doing a deadlift properly. So your feet want to be about shoulder width apart, a little bit wider is okay. You want to stand underneath the bar so you can actually see your toes under the bar. And you're going to come down with your hips, not your waist. So you're going to do a squat to get down to the bar. A lot of people like to go to an alternating grip so that your grip doesn't fail. That gives you a little more stability and support when you're lifting a heavier weight with the deadlift. Your deadlift weight should be significantly higher than your squat weight is. Making sure that your shoulders are behind your knees from the starting point. Your back is nice and straight, and you're looking up. That'll help keep this back in the right alignment as I come up. Make sure that you come up through your shoulders, not your butt. So the shoulders should be the first thing to come off the ground when I'm lifting this bar. Go ahead. Exhale on the way up. Recover. Bring oxygen back into your body on the way down. Again. A lot of you may have a tendency to drop the bar when you get to the top. It's going to be a lot better because it gives you that negative set if you come down with the weight in your hand, and it'll also protect the equipment in your weight room. Our next lift here is going to be a straight leg deadlift. Now this is something that requires a lighter weight. You don't want to overload those weaker muscles of your lower back. We're looking for low weight, high rep exercise here just to give some initial conditioning and help get those muscles toned and tight so that they can protect it's a supporting muscle. It's not a major muscle that takes over a major lift like a back squat or a deadlift. But we do need to make sure that those muscles are strong and tight. So we're going to train them with a straight leg deadlift. You're just going to have the palms towards your grip. You go ahead and bend forward. Make sure that your back is nice and flat. There's a little curvature in his spine right now. I want to get rid of that. I want that to be nice and flat. And he's just going to come up through his lower back. His knees are going to be soft. They're not going to be locked. And he's just going to stand up. He's coming up at the waist. Not really bending his knees very much. Just keeping them soft. Coming back up. Strengthen these muscles in your lower back. Okay, now we're going to do a decline sit-up, which is essentially lower on the ground, allowing your sit-up to go a little bit lower than it normally would if you're on the ground. If you have a decline sit-up bench like so, that's going to be ideal. Otherwise, this can be done on a bench or a back extension machine. But what you want to do is probably cross your arms in front of your chest or lightly push your fingers behind your head. You don't want to pull your head forward when you're doing that because that puts too much tension and torque on your neck. So go ahead and whatever way you're comfortable with, coming down so that you're below where the ground would normally be, keeping tension in your abs. So they're doing work the entire way through. Coming back up until your back is even with where your thighs are. So you're at a perpendicular 90-degree angle. Exhale on the way up, inhale on the way down. We're now gonna move into a back extension, or sometimes called a hyperextension. A machine like so can be used for this, but the idea is essentially reverse sit-up, going down, coming back to your position where your shoulders are above your rear end. Go ahead and do that again. This can be done with weight added, but in this circumstance, we're just focusing on the repetitions, not necessarily. For those of you who may not have a back extension machine available or a bench available, you can use a regular bench to do this. And what you'll do is you'll put your legs into a frog-like position, making sure that your hips are at the edge of that bench. And also want to make sure that you have a weight or somebody holding down the back end of this bench, because you're going to have a tendency for this bench to come off the ground, which could be a safety hazard. And you're going to do the same thing we did out there on our back extension machine, coming down into a reverse sit-up position, making sure your shoulders are coming up above your rear end.